My 1999 Cobra Mustang hasn't run in over 20 years, but in this episode, all of that is going to change, or my used forged engine is going to blow up upon first start. Yeah! Woo! The 99 Cobra started off with high hopes as an answer to the almighty LS1 F-body. The Camaro SS and Trans Am WS6 had 320 horsepower, so Ford matched that power with their dual overhead cam 4.6-liter V8. The only issue is Ford lied. The Cobras only put down about 250 wheel horsepower, which translates to around 290 at the engine. After owners discovered this, Ford was forced to replace the intake manifold, the exhaust, and update the tune to bring the cars up in power, but by then it was too late to produce a 2000 model year Cobra. Now they did make a 2001 model year Cobra, but by then the Cobra name was somewhat tarnished, so Ford skipped 2002 altogether, only to return in 2003 with the Terminator Cobra that basically destroyed everything. So that's around the time that this car went to sleep with a blown engine. So let's see if we can wake it up with this. All right, first things first, to get this engine to start is we need fuel. Now in a previous episode, I already replaced the Cobra's rusted out fuel tank with a brand new one. It has a new fuel filter and its gigantic fuel pump is working well. And I want to reuse these injectors because they were the ones used when this car was tuned. And this has a custom fuel rail with a large return fitting and two feed fittings in the front to connect to the rest of the aftermarket fuel system. As you can see, this is quite crusty. Let's hope the inside of the injectors don't look this way. Let's see if we can get the rail out with the injector. That one's good. Okay, that's okay. They're gonna pop out and leave some of them in the intake. Okay, there we go. Some of them came out with the rail. Did they use ethanol? I don't think so. The tips look clean. That's good. I gotta love some of these old abandoned cars before they had ethanol in all the fuel around here. These could be in good shape. Let's just pop these out. Okay. Pretend I didn't just drop that one. Now, unfortunately, my fuel injector machine decided to break, so we have to take a trip over to Fluid Motor Union to use theirs. And since we have to go to Fluid Motor Union anyway, I think I'm going to correct something I don't like, which is the intake air temperature sensor drilled directly into the upper plenum. So essentially, they had the intake air temperature sensor right around here, and there's no reason we can't just put it in this pipe, probably on the bottom, just to hide it. It'd be cleaner. Now, I love going to Fluid. They work on some of the coolest stuff, and I can't wait to show you guys what they've done with my E55 wagon. But for now, let's test the injectors and see if they even work. Now, first things first, when cleaning an injector is you want to clean the outside so you don't contaminate the machine with any dirt. A little shot of brake clean, and we'll use a little wire brush, just gently just clean the outside. A little bit more brake clean, and you are ready. Next, we needed to find the right size fitting because there are many different styles of injectors. And from there, we're just gonna install each injector into the cup. And my machine fits 4 injectors. This one fits 6. We really need one that fits 8. That would be helpful. All right, with all of our beautiful injectors installed on the rail. You drop one on the ground, then we'll screw these so we get a tight fit and no leaking fuel all over the place. Because I've never had that before. Fire in the hole. I have the electrical connectors plugged in, and it is time to start an idle test. So we'll see the fuel pressure go up, and if they're working, they'll start to spray. What do we got? So far, we have 4 out of the 6 spraying. This one seems to be dead, and this one too. If your injector's not working, try messing with the plug. We got that one to work. Okay, let's see if we can get this guy to go with a little love tap here. Hey, she's back. You can do that with injectors sometimes. They just need a little love, guys. There's a pin inside of the injector that can get stuck even if there's a tiny amount of dirt or debris. But if you just shake it out of the way and then run it on the machine like this, you can totally fix injectors and save a ton of money. So it was off to the races. And with injectors, you don't want any winners or losers. You want it to be a tie across the board. So hopefully participation trophies for everybody. These guys are all pretty equal. This one's a little bit lower, but also so we need to do an ultrasonic cleaning on this. An ultrasonic cleaner sends power to a transducer that creates a high-frequency vibration that causes cavitation bubbles in liquid. When those bubbles collapse in a cleaning solution, that implosion provides a cleaning action that removes dirt and debris from just about anything. With the injectors buzzing away, OJ drilled a hole into the intake and cut some new threads out for our intake air temperature sensor. And the last two injectors are good to go, pretty even. Injectors are done. And OJ finished up the intake air temperature sensor, so we're good to go there too. All right, let's get back to the shop and continue on. Oh, and real quick, at the end of my last video, like after the bloopers, I asked you guys a secret question to be answered in the comments. Would you rather have a 99 or 01 SVT Cobra or an LS1 F-body like my WS6 or a Camaro? The results were actually split right down the middle, so let me know which one you'd rather have, but I did find that these 99 and 01 Cobras are a pretty awesome deal right now. You can find one in really nice condition, anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 if you know where to look. Now, the only website that I use to search for private party or dealership cars is Autotempest.com. I found this to be the best place by far to search for cars, and for good reason. They take all the listings from the major car and truck marketplaces and put them all into one place. So whatever you do, stop going to all of the sites individually. It's a big waste of time. Autotempest.com is the only site you need, and not only does this save you time, but it also saves you money because you can compare all the cars against each other. Like, why pay almost $18,000 for this Cobra with 100,000 miles when you can spend about 1,000 more on one with 36,000 miles? I'm gonna leave you guys a link down below to Autotempest.com. Definitely check them out if you're looking for any car, and it's also really fun to browse around and see the prices on some cars, because you'd be surprised how much many of them have come down in the last year or so. And their mobile app is really great. You can download this on your phone right now for free and start looking. Super addictive. I kind of want a Hellcat. An amazing company as well, Autotempest.com. I'll drop it down below. Let's continue on with the Cobra. Now that we're done with the injectors, it's time to pull this intake manifold. And a couple of reasons why we are doing this. This is kind of cool. Nice gasket for it. Good job. The reason we're pulling this out is because it'll make it easier to put the new injectors and rail in, but also we got to pull this valve cover and swap the front cover. Now, the reason we need to swap out this entire front cover is mostly due to the tensioner. So check this out. So our new used engine is from a 2001 Cobra, and you can see this part here is for the belt tensioner. We do not have that on the original front timing cover. So because the Vortex Supercharger kit was bolted up to the 99, we're just gonna swap the cover and make life easy. Now, the valve cover does need to be removed in order to get the front timing cover off. There are the coils, and they don't require any individual bolts or hardware, which is kind of cool. They're pushed down with this, and I think this is a really trick part of this engine because you don't see any coils. It's super clean. So let's pop these guys out. In the last video, I inspected the other side and the bottom end. Everything looks good. This is the last part I really haven't looked at, but we should be good. Nothing broken in here. No? Okay, cams look good. Oh, and because of you guys, I know that these cams are from an 0304 Cobra. So I showed the part numbers in the last video, and a few of you commented. So thank you. We got 0304 Cobras. That's kind of cool. Now, my original game plan was to use the accessories from the new engine, as some of them looked a lot better than the ones that came off of the old engine. So I went around removing all of the accessories. This is so nice. Everything went really well. I was having a good time until I noticed that something was different. This is an 8-rib, and so is every other accessory from the original car. So check this out. Even though these balancers are the same height, which is nice, this one is all about the ribs. So it's got 2 extra ribs, an 8-rib. That's a common upgrade when you're getting pretty serious with a supercharger, especially back in the day. And that means every accessory, including the AC compressor, would have an 8-rib. Let's go see. Yep, look at that. Every single one of these. This is actually good news because the 8-rib is going to offer more surface area, so our supercharger belt won't slip and will create all the boost. And now that I know this is an 8-rib, I should have noticed it right from the get-go. I mean, look at how wide these are. I have my balancer tool screwed in, so we need to hold this and tighten the bolt. And you can see it's pulling off the crankshaft right now. There we go. Nice. It's front cover time. It's front cover time. Or it's peanut butter and jelly time. It's peanut butter and jelly time. Who else loves a good PB&J? I know I do. What do you guys think? Grape or strawberry jelly on your PB&J? I honestly can't make up my mind on that. I go back and forth. They're just so delicious. Get out, front cover, come on. Oh. I'm prying on this thing. Look at this bolt, just camouflaging in there. Sneaky little bugger. Oh my gosh, okay. Yeah, if it's not coming, don't force it, okay? You probably forgot a bolt. There we go. Oh, we got the upgraded aluminum guides. Yes. I found something different on our old engine, and that would be the tone ring. This looks to be aftermarket, and the teeth seem to be spaced out the same, but this is how the engine's crankshaft sensor knows the position of the engine. Now you can see here on the factory tone ring, there's a brake here, and we need to make sure that this has that exact same brake, and it lines up with the keyway. Let's see. Please be the same. Oh, nice. Yeah, right there, same brake. Okay, that's good, but we could still have an issue with the depth, so we're gonna have to take a measurement now. I see what the difference is. This has this thick washer type portion here, and it fits into this gear, whereas ours has this side built into the gear. So I think this one's the aftermarket. So let's get this back on, and let's take a measurement with our caliper right to there, make sure it's flush. Now what we want is for this to be exactly the same. Oh, it's exactly the same. Oh, it's the same. All right. That could have been a major issue because we could have had to remove the timing chain and all sorts of stuff to swap over, but we're good. That clearance is perfect. I gotta do a little bit of brushing on this front timing cover mating surface here so we get it to seal. Nice and pretty. Front timing cover mating surface is all cleaned up. Man, high school Alex would be so happy right now. What year did you guys graduate high school? For me, it was 2002. Literally, like, everything behind me was as hot as it could be in 2002, and I was just sitting there in class all day dreaming of one day owning really any of these, but mostly my Trans Am WS6, of course. I know I've been cheating on you with SVTs, but don't worry, you're still my favorite. I gotta reassure it every once in a while because the TA is kind of crazy. You can go crazy cleaning engine parts, but this looks better than the one that was on it. Nasty. And it's gonna look even better with a new crankshaft seal. Here's our new one, red. You wanna make sure you're getting this on there nice and straight. And we're gonna use a block of wood to start this off. Once you get the seal started, a tool like this works great. Make sure it's totally even all the way around and you're gonna be good. Our new red seal is installed, and we have a while you're in there, and take a look at the crank sensor from the old front timing cover. See how it's cracked right there? I don't know if that's a common thing, but I wanna take care of that now. So even though our crank sensor is in good shape on this cover, I'm replacing it. And it's got a little O-ring too. It could potentially leak. We have a brand new one. So I'll pop this guy in and reinstall our 8mm. Now we have a nice blue gasket to match the blue cylinder heads. These have little tabs so you know kind of where they go. Oh yeah, beautiful. Just like that, we're going back together. My Cobra's gonna run. All right, so far so good. This is a 99 cover on a 2001 block. I think we're good. Oh, and I read something on the internet that between the 2-valve and the 4-valve, there were 12 different versions of the front timing cover. Ford, come on now. Let's just hope this version works for us. Lots of bolts going in. We're gonna snug these up, but we'll do the final torque with the oil pan. Engine block is all clean, ready for an oil pan right after I reinstall this bearing cap. In the last video, I took one off to inspect. The bearing looks to be in good shape. We'll get some engine assembly lube on it. You can see here this rod cap was labeled by hand. Considering the high dollar parts in this engine, it was most likely balanced and blueprinted. So since the bearings are looking good, I'm not gonna go around and replace anything. They probably set the clearances just right. So we are good just simply to go back together. And we'll get this guy on here. All right, let's pull the rod up a little bit, make sure these two are lined up. There we go. Now, since we're using ARP rod bolts, these are reusable, but when you torque them, they require what's called moly lube, I think is what ARP calls them, but it's basically a thread lubricant so you get an even torque. Some people will use engine oil on the threads as well, but the torque spec does change if you do that. Put these guys right back in. On a low setting, we'll snug these up. And we're torquing these to 63 foot-pounds. It's just one stage, but I like to go back and forth a couple times, make sure we're totally even. There we go, the torque is coming. Oh, so satisfying. Love the clicks of the torque wrench. Can that be like a ringtone on your phone? Just click, click. Perfect. Let's spin it around though and make sure nothing's binding or anything's weird. Oh, listen to that. Spins great. All sorts of sweet compression-y types of sounds. I love it. Oh man, these cylinders look so good. Look at that. This is perfect. I don't want to speak too soon, but I really like this engine. And from you guys telling me in the comments section, these blocks can hold up. We have a forged rotating assembly. This should be able to handle a bunch of power. Knock on air. I don't know why I say these things before we test the engines, but I do. It's just, I don't know. It's oil pan time, and we're using a much nicer oil pan. The one on the old engine is a little rusted, and we were able to transfer the fitting for the oil drain from the Supercharger. Well, that's RTV. Please don't fall. Okay, you're gonna fall. All right. The last guy went to town on the RTV, and well, it kind of looks like I'm doing the same. We'll never have a leak ever. This is so much fun. Whee! All right, oil pan is going on. I wish every time you put an oil pan on and you get to about this point here, it would go. It should make that noise. I got a bunch of bolts for this, and we'll start them all by hand, of course. We'll do a little zip zam zoo. And we'll just snug these up by hand, and we are done with the oil pan. Yes, we're getting there. I've been soaking these exhaust manifold nuts for a while. I'm good. We're good. It's coming off. So I think they were using this for the turbocharger that was supposedly on this engine. You can run factory manifolds, and a lot of times you don't gain a ton by going to an expensive tubular manifold on a turbo setup. Before the valve cover goes on, we need to replace these seals here, and all you do for that is pop them right off. Very easy. Give it a little wiperoo, and then install your new ones, just like that. All right, sweet. These things are Nardo gray. Awesome. Now, there are a grand total of like 24 seals on this valve cover because you have all of these guys here. So we just have to push these out, and you pull the rubber right off like that. And then the new one slides on like so. All right, cool. Like 12 more to go. Yay, Ford. Lots of failure points on this valve cover. Thank you. Nardo gray spark plug seals and Ford Performance blue valve cover gaskets. I'd rather have blue than the Nardo gray. I think it's kind of played out. What do you guys think? Nardo gray was huge for a while, but just can't get into it. Like Rich Rebuild says, it's just kind of like primer. All right, ready to go on. Before the valve cover goes on, I like to get a little smidge of RTV right in these corners where the front cover meets the head. A smidge is a proper term for a specific amount. How much that amount is, it's a smidge. Valve cover going on. It's sealed. And this is a great bolt holder, let me tell you. Zip Zam Zoo time. That is an official term here we use at LegitStreetCars. That tells Max, my editor, to do that cool little bzzz. It's a Zip Zam Zoo. See? It's coil pack time, and luckily they are all Motorcraft. Do a little bit of silicone spray. Okay, and no coil hardware. We just put our sweet V8 32 valve aluminum cover on top of these, and we're going with the black one. The original engine had these silver ones, but they've gotten crustified. We don't like crust, except on our PB&J sandwiches. I'm a crust guy. You cut the crust off? No one cuts the crust off, right? One of my kids likes the crust cut off. That kid needs a talking to. All right, now it is off with the old fuel rail. Goodbye. I'm gonna use my new bench grinder to get some of the crust off of here. This thing needs a little bit of time for the turbo to spool up, but once she gets going, it stays in boost pretty well. Check it out, I can turn up the boost. That blow off valve. Yeah, I gotta bolt this thing down to the ground. I'm not done yet over here. So we went from this to this, not bad. Also gonna brake clean this thing out. And we'll just blow this out. Before the injectors go in, we are going to replace the seals, although they're in pretty good shape. Unfortunately, all they have are brown seals. I mean, who wants brown seals, you know? Stick with black. All gaskets and seals should just be black. Gasket and seal manufacturers, stop with the colors, please. All right, new seals installed. You know we're going MB sunroof grease here, my favorite. With all the seals replaced and the injectors back in our rail, we pulled out the plugs in the intake that the previous owner of this engine installed, which is always a good sign. All 8 injectors went into the intake manifold, and then it was time for the upper plenum. With our new engine looking pretty, it was time to shift focus to the old engine. And that's because we need to take the transmission off of this engine, and I need to clean it up. It is gross. And I'm not gonna do that in my shop. Oh man, oh, come back, come back. There's a ramp. Okay, about to lose it. Stay. Big brakes on this table. All right, let's remove what looks to be human hair. I'm not sure. I'm gonna be disposing of this, unless one of you guys wants to buy a box of Cobra disgustingness. People are selling stuff like this on the internet, it's crazy. Woo! Yeah, oh, this is so gross. But you do see people buying like pieces of chopped up cars or like bath water, just weird stuff. I don't get it personally. I don't get it. Just garbage at the end of the day, right? There we go. Oh yeah, still looks horrible, but much better. We don't have loose leaves and hair and dirt all over the place now. We just need to get this off. And because this engine is totally locked up, even without the heads on, we need to take the transmission off and leave the torque converter on. So that's always fun. Well, it's a good thing we're getting a new motor because this transmission bolt was frozen into the engine. I used penetrating oil, I used heat, I used it all, and we literally just cracked the block. All right, good used engine for sale. I know what I got. Before we get too carried away with removing the transmission, we have to take out the starter. All right, seen better days. There's one bolt left in the transmission holding it in. Let's kind of move this exhaust to the side. How frozen is this gonna be? All right, there we go. Okay, it's moving. It's a pain in the butt to do with the torque converter still attached. We're frozen on one of the dowel pins, but I'm working it. The transmission's been married to this engine for a long time. They're lovers, doesn't want to let go. You gotta let go. We got you someone much younger and better, I think, not broken at the very least. All right, here we go, here we go, here we go. All right, get out. Okay. Okay, pry bar, that helps. Work smarter. I mean, I knew it had a converter in here, but it's pink. There we are. Nice. All right, so we have a separated transmission. No problem. Oh, the back. Okay, don't recommend doing that. Be paying for that tomorrow. So the converter's bolted to the flex plate now, and we need to get to the bolts on the inside with a wrench. I've been soaking these for a little while, so hopefully they're not too bad. Okay, first one is cooperating, thank you, first one. Second one, all right, not bad. Third one, yay. Fourth, redheaded stepchild. Oh, it worked, good job, stepchild. You're just as loved as the other 3. I'll take a bit of luck here, that's great. Let's get these guys out and remove our converter. We're one step closer to getting this engine off of my K-member. I am so surprised this thing is coming off so easily. Thank you. This converter's like, get me out of here. I'm not like the transmission. I don't like this engine. Just saved you. Oh, look at these spiders, converter spiders. These are the toughest of the spiders. I mean, they're gone, guys. I'm not doing any harm to them, okay? I got pretty lucky with the transmission and the converter, but I wonder how this is gonna go. Let's spray these guys down. Yay. Look at that. It's the small victories, people, the small victories. Now this thing is gross, but we're gonna clean it up. The teeth look to be in good shape. We're moving, we're moving. We gotta transfer over this little spacer thing too, and yeah, man, these are some of the coolest bugs and animals ever living inside of this Cobra engine. Next, I'm removing the pedestals from the engine because this thing's coming off. There we go. Okay. Oh, Cobra engine coming out. We have liftoff. Sweet. Get excited. First start, people. Or first attempted start. Get way ahead of myself. I haven't even physically located the engine's computer on this car yet. Hopefully it's there. One step at a time though. All right. There is our engine. See ya. I moved the C4 and we have the engine table with the subframe and the rack and everything over here because this is going to be an excellent time to just clean, degrease, just lots of nastiness going on. Oh, not too bad. That rack's turning out nice. 17,000 miles. I keep on forgetting that. Kind of doesn't really matter a whole lot with a car like this that's abandoned, but little parts like this, they just haven't had a lot of time to get dirty. That's all. It's the next morning and you know I had to paint a few things. I wanted this to look a little bit better, so we used some black rust reformer on all of the black stuff and I painted the rack a factory silver color. I think it's looking much better than it looked before, and I cleaned up the headers, so all of the mating surfaces are clean. And this is just some of the stuff that came out of the primaries. A lot of it is outside, but yeah, they were nasty. Luckily, these guys are stainless, so they didn't rust out or anything. We are good. So with that, our engine is almost ready to go right here. And let me know in the comments section, but did you guys notice I had a hole in my jeans? My wife told me after 2 days of filming with them, so if I had a hole in my jeans, I'm sorry. I've since installed some used jeans, so we're good. I'm gonna install the accessories once it's on the table, except we wanna get this crank on, because the table kinda gets in the way. That's keyway, that's good. And then we're gonna thread on our tool, which is also an installer. And you wanna do this part by hand. I don't recommend getting a gun on it. Even if you had a really deep socket, just do it by hand. It may take you a few minutes, but it's fun. I don't know. It's like a workout. There you go. You do need to counter hold the crankshaft. So in this case, I stole a couple of old rod bolts from the LS Swap 911. And I'm using a pry bar right up against one of the bolts from the engine stand. Now we just need to loosen this tool and remove it. So I'm holding the pry bar too. Now we can remove our install tool like that. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. And I forgot the tool's little buddy. Yay. I don't know why these tools sound like Teletubbies. Do you guys ever watch Teletubbies? That was the worst. Worst. You're able to reuse these crank bolts, and I'm not sure why, but both the engines had a little bit of RTV on this washer. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me because we have a seal there that should seal out any and all oil, but both engines had it, so I'm just gonna go for it. All right, there we go, nice and jammed up with the pry bar, 121 foot-pounds. That's it. We need the engine hoist or cherry picker. I called it cherry picker in a video and a lot of people didn't know what that was. That's a nickname. It doesn't actually pick cherries, but it picks up engines. Anyway, before we use that for our new engine, we need to take this off. It's a great time to see any carnage on the bottom end. And this oil pan used a gasket, no RTV. No metal in here. I've looked around a bit, nothing too interesting, and I do think this is a stock bottom end, maybe with some pistons. We have a Ford stamp right there. And I learned from you guys that SPS just means it's the factory hardware, so it said that on the head bolts as well. So this might just be a stock bottom end. There's no ARP 2000 or anything cool down here. Okay. Well, we're definitely upgrading it, that's for sure. And here the Cobra engine will rest. Dun, dun, dun. All right, Back to the Future makes absolutely no sense in that. Okay, and it's leaking stuff. It's still leaking. Come on. And there she lays, right next to my holy jeans. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this engine. I'm thinking of keeping it with the Cobra in case I sell the car. I can sell it with the old engine if someone wants that, but I don't know how much that matters. It's missing the factory transmission, the factory rear end, the factory interior, so not much of a Cobra collectible anymore, is it? We have liftoff. Getting excited. Getting excited, people. Okay, all right. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this right in here next to the Vancy TA and Lightning because we're gonna be using that next on this. There we go, engine's going on. All right, bad aim. It's always fun to steer the cherry picker. There we go. Going down. Little song and dance here now. Because I gotta go down a little bit and then kind of line it up and yeah. We can also use the engine table to go up with that and move our subframe up. Lots of options with these two tools. And most important tool is yourself. We gotta pull this subframe up, trying to get this to line up with that. Oh, so close. All right, that's close enough. I'm starting this guy. Ah, there we go. Sweet. I've gotten all the other ones started. And so now we can mate the subframe with the engine. There we go. She's on. Now the rest of assembly before the engine goes into the car should go a little bit like Legos, or I hope. First, I needed to install the Flexplate. Many call this a flywheel, but a flywheel looks like this and is used for manual transmissions. You can see the flywheel has a surface for the clutch to ride on, and a Flexplate has holes to bolt in a torque converter. On this Ford, there's only one way for the Flexplate to go on, as all 8 holes only line up in one orientation. From there, I installed the bolts with Loctite and used a specific torque sequence to snug them up to 63 foot-pounds. Last click. All right. Next, I totally picked up this really heavy transmission all by myself and put it on the table in preparation for the torque converter. I found out this thing has a 3600 stall speed and the transmission was fully built in 2001, so that's pretty cool. When installing a torque converter, you'll need to push and spin at the same time so it fully engages, and it should be sunken in a bit from the mating surface of the bell housing. From there, I used a pry bar to help lift and align the transmission with the engine, and after lining up the dowels, you can start to install and tighten up the bell housing bolts. Lining up the converter and Flexplate is next, so spin the engine until you see a hole in the Flexplate, then spin the converter until it lines up. The converter spins easy by hand, and the first one is the hardest part. After the first bolt is hand tight, keep spinning until you find the next one, and the rest are easy. Last converter bolt. There we go. All right. That is all torqued up. Next, we have this insanity, the headers. But first, a starter. Now, considering that the headers don't really give us much room for anything once they're installed, I have opted to replace this old crusty starter with a new one. And this will be the easiest time to replace this, because if that starter goes bad, once we get the exhaust in, good luck swapping it out. So look at how easy this is right now. Bam! Before you return this part to the store, please call this number. We have factory trained ASE certified technicians who are waiting to help. I wonder how that would go. Alex torque, click. Now the installation of the headers was a complete nightmare because they use individual primaries that aren't welded together into the collector. Okay, so this one is number 1, that has to go in first. This is number 2. This guy with the collector is number 3. And I mean, look at this. This is crazy, guys. Okay, oh, this goes down. All right, that helps, but yeah. This is some early 2000s race car stuff. I mean, what was the need for totally custom headers on this? Why don't you fit? Come on. After joshing around for about 2.5 hours, I managed to get all the headers lined up and ready for hardware. You guys ever heard of that term, joshing around? Where in the world did that come from? And anyone out there named Josh? Tighten. Oh, okay. I'm done. That's enough. They're on. They're on. That's all I gotta say about that. All right, guys, we're moving on to much easier things, I hope. We need this pulley off the alternator. Oh, don't be dumb. Come on. No. Oh, there we go. Cool. Whew. All right. Because it's an 8 rib and the alternator on this thing is sweet. See, this one's much newer and nicer, so we're gonna stick with this. Swap the pulleys. All right, so out with the old. That looks much nicer than the actual old. Let's clean this. Oh yeah, get out of here. This thing was nasty. Honestly, the rust might actually help grip the belt. I'm doing it a disservice right now. I'm just kidding. It's gotta be clean. All right, that is much better. Luckily for me, and completely opposite to the headers, the accessories all went on without any issues, and I did reuse most everything from the original engine because of the whole 8 rib versus 6 rib setup. So the accessories really did go on pretty easily, and we got a new pulley. So if you remember, this one was destroyed. We found a new one. It has a spacer, a stud goes right here, and then this slides on like so. So everything is coming together. I spoke too soon again. I totally forgot to put this stupid steering shaft in before I tightened up all of the header primaries. This one side took me like, I don't know, hour and a half, something like that. It's ridiculous. 1 step forward, 4 steps back. Oh, I have to loosen all of these. Okay. Woo! Disaster averted, people. Oh my gosh. Hallelujah. Got lucky on that. Got really lucky. Now this can go there, and this can go in the car, and now this whole engine can go in the car. We're ready. All right, here we go. Get in there. Nope, crash into the bumper. Okay. Okay, car's up. Let's bring this power unit into place. Engine's going up. And the car's coming down. It's kind of a balance because if I need to do something on the top, I want the car a little lower. We'll do a little both. It's a good Instagram picture right here. Follow me. LegitStreetCars. Call me. All right, at this point I'm going by hand. So we're getting pretty close. Don't want to snag anything. There's nothing. Nothing to worry about here. Okay. Lots of crunchy noises when you're doing something like this. Sometimes it's just a harness. You don't need that. I'm just taking a peek around and nothing is hitting anything anymore. I'm like a little leprechaun up here on this car. I just climbed on up. I jumped up. I'm a leprechaun. Oh, can't see. Did I make it? My new ladder, or my new Cobra wheels. The next episode, all right? Got new wheels. We're almost there. The subframe's really close. The bolts are starting to line up. But before that, we got to push this past the fender liner. So we're good there. With the subframe close, we can start to get in our subframe bolts and nuts. All right, subframe is in. Everything lined up pretty well. It's time to remove the table. We have an engine. That's it. She's in. Engine table coming out. Thank you once again. We will probably see you soon, I'm sure. Here's what the new engine looks like in the Cobra. There's about 5 million things to plug in and route, so let's get to work. Oh, and I just noticed this. Number 4, -20, 7/1999. And this car was built in June of 99. They had to have tested the coolant during the pre-delivery inspection, and then they just Sharpied it on. It's kind of cool and weird at the same time. I was going around plugging things in, and I found a difference between the idle air control motor. So the old motor had an adapter plate and a completely different idle air control motor for whatever reason. So we got to swap. All right, what do we got going on here? Yeah, okay, whatever. Just a different design, no biggie. I'll take their little adapter plate. There we go, another gasket. Cool. New idle air control motor is installed. We'll plug that in. Now we'll plug in the throttle position sensor as well. All of these are labeled. It's really nice. This is for the map sensor, so they've added this as well. It's probably a 2-bar map sensor since there's now boost. Oh, you gotta connect stuff like this for vacuum. So much to connect. Since we're relocating the intake air temperature sensor, we need to extend the harness. So let's go ahead and add in a little bit of a harness. Melt, solder, melt. All right, there's one. And there's 2. And then to make this look pretty, we'll install some heat shrink tubing right over both. Like that. Heat it up. This side was done as well, and now we'll add in a little bit of corrugated tube. Make this look nice and factory. All right, we're gonna add a little detail here. I got a label maker. Check it out. We're gonna label this one air. There we go, and I didn't label it IAT because look at the one for coolant, it's H2O. All right. Comment down below if you guys noticed what I messed up on. I installed these without plugging in coils. You can't install those until that's done. Be honest, did you notice? Somebody noticed. Okay, power steering reservoir is on. After lots of research on the internet, I found one belt diagram from this old Vortec kit. So this is how the belt goes, and the supercharger will go on last. So if you need to change out the belt, you literally have to remove the entire supercharger. But we are getting there. Everything under the hood is good. We're waiting on a couple O-rings for the coolant tubes. I'm bleeding, which means that we're getting close to the end here. So let's raise it up and wrap up a bunch of stuff under there. It's a big wrap up job. That's what we're doing here. You guys remember those crunchy noises when I was going back in with the engine? That was this. It's a range selector sensor, and I cracked it. I was gonna steal one off of the Lightning, but it is different. Luckily, the auto parts store had one. So this just slides in over like that. Couple bolts. Ratcheting wrench for the win. Disaster averted. Sweet. Range selector is done, shifter cable's installed, and I've put the harness back in its factory location, except None of that is used. This car utilizes one single wideband sensor and that's it. Not exactly sure what's going on with the computer system on here, but it's gotta be some kind of standalone. Oh, and you guys remember how bad the inside of the headers looked? Well, it's not perfect, but I cleaned them out with the pressure washer. They're looking much better. Nothing we can't spit out at first start. And yes, we're running open headers. All right, it's drive shaft time. All the joints feel perfect, and by all, I mean the two. So we'll slide this guy through the drive shaft loop. Okay, come on now. There we go. And into the transmission. Okay, there we go. I always do a little Loctite on the drive shaft bolts because you don't want those coming loose. And in they go. And you guys know how bolts go in. I'm gonna finish this up and then we're installing the supercharger and then I cleaned up the old Vortec a little bit and she's ready to go on. Here we go. All right, so it's gonna slide on our stud. Man, this is a super, super tight fit, guys. Jeez, we'll get the belt on now. Look at this meaty 8-rib, that's so cool. The 8-rib's so cool and period correct because now they're able to get away with a lot with a 6-rib. It's crazy, like my C63, 6-rib, doesn't care. Just still spins, doesn't slip either. It's great. That's on. All right, some super long bolts. Decided to pull these out of the front timing cover, you have to replace them. Oh no, this is the one I was supposed to put in before I forgot. No, not a Vortec professional yet, okay? Get in there. Oh man. Come on, ABS pump. Didn't you know we were gonna put a supercharger on these? Jeez. All right, that's gotta go like that. I just messed up my whole belt. Oh, what in the world? And that was the pulley. Okay, all right guys, there it is. All right, blower's installed. I forgot I needed to get these 3 washers on. And I have my arm like totally twisted under the blower and trying to sneak these on because I don't want to take it off again. Oh, last one, please. Oh, yes. I did it, I did it, yay. Okay. All right, all we have left are fluids now, and I am not gonna connect the intake from here to the throttle body. I first want to get this blower to blow through the intercooler, which is in here below this pipe. And I just wanna see if there's a couple leaves in there that wanna come out before we get sucked into the engine. So we got power steering fluid going in. We don't wanna hear the power steering pump whine. We wanna hear something else whine. Although these blowers don't really whine, they whistle. That was the oldest man whistle I've ever whistled before. That's bad. All right, and then I was able to find conventional engine oil at the store for like 23 bucks for 5 quarts. So we're gonna run it on conventional just to get it up to operating temperature, make sure everything's good, and then we'll swap out the oil for its first drive. It's hard to find conventional oil these days. It's usually a synthetic blend or full synthetic. All right, just got done putting transmission fluid in. We are good on all that stuff. It's battery and crank time. So I have disabled the gigantic fuel pump back there because I want to run some of this oil through the engine, have it build up some oil pressure, and then we're good. Here we go. Positive, negative. She's alive, almost. Theft. Okay, hopefully that's not an issue. Look at that, 17,000 miles. Windows work. All right, I'm gonna put that in park. Here we go, people. We've been here many, many, many times. First crank. Okay, great. Oh my gosh, guys. Like, for a second, I'm like, is this thing locked? I don't know what happened there. I don't know, but it's cranking. Sounds good. I'm just gonna do this one more time to make sure we got oil everywhere. I just reconnected the fuel pump. We'll give it a prime. I'm not hearing any fuel at all. All right, guys, I have no fuel pump activation right now, but I do have a theft light that's flashing. So this guy just keeps flashing and it goes even faster sometimes. So I'm not sure if that's preventing us from starting it. I'm just gonna try and do one of these. And then I highly doubt it, but let's just see if these really old key fob batteries work. Oh, get out. No way! That's gotta be a world record, guys. There's like a 20-something-year-old battery in here. All right, let's see if that helps us out. Okay, go away, theft light. I still don't hear a fuel pump. Man, it's going nuts. What in the world? And nothing. I tested this fuel pump after I put the tank in. It worked. Yeah, fuel pump works. These fuels have an inertia switch behind here. Okay, so if you get into an accident, this will flip up. Yeah, it's down. It doesn't need to be reset. Oh, what in the world? What is all this? That's aftermarket. Oh yeah, that's right. This thing has a booster pump so you can turn the voltage up and down for the fuel pump. It says lean and rich. Oh, no way. Here it is. Here's the actual booster pump. Kenny Bell booster pump. This is old school right here. All right, you guys want to see something fun? This is under the passenger fender liner. Yeah. That is the factory fuel pump relay and fan relay, apparently. And there's some aftermarket stuff. This one's my favorite, though. It's a relay with 2 wires coming from ground just right into the relay. That's it. I don't know why this is here. Anyway, for now, I'm just going to jump the fuel pump, and we're going to see if this thing starts. Oh, this stinks, guys. I got the fuel working, but it's leaking, and it's not just from the connection going to the rail, it's actually the hose going into this fitting right here. All right, guys, I do not have any new steel braided hose, so we're gonna rig something up. I'm not proud, people. I'm not proud, but you gotta do what you gotta do. It's clamped on there like crazy. Let's try. Here we go, here we go. Come on, baby. What in the world? We should have fuel now. We got 40 PSI fuel pressure. That's enough. Huh. There's no more fuel leaks. I have the intake air temperature sensor plugged in. That's not connected, but that shouldn't matter. There's no mass airflow sensor on this car. It should fire. I'm curious if we even have ignition right now, so let's give it a little starter fluid. Oh yeah! Woo! All right, it fires. I mean, we definitely have ignition. It fires with starting fluid. It fires! Look at this, we have combustion smoke, otherwise known as exhaust. Okay, all right, I'm giving it a little flood here with the gas. No, it does not want to start. I have the accelerator pressed all the way down. We got 40 PSI. Okay. Great. So here's what we know right now. We have a theft light that is flashing and a car that won't start, and the fuel pump will not kick on when you turn the key on. I have it hot wired manually, but it fires with some starting fluid. So do we have injector pulse width? For that, we can use a Noid light. So this is plugged into the connector to one of the injectors, and if we have injector pulse width, this should flash. And we do not. All right, no injector pulse width, no fuel pump. The car could be killing the entire fuel system, but not spark. That is possible. What? Okay, I've had the key just in the ignition, and like every couple minutes, all the door locks lock and unlock. This might be a key programming issue right now, guys. And we do have a code for an ignition key in circuit fault. All right, after a bunch of disassembly and looking around, I think I'm getting somewhere. After doing some research, I found that this Mustang has a very early anti-theft technology called PATS, or Passive Anti-Theft System. So there's an immobilizer for the key, a PATS module, and the engine's computer. These three need to communicate in order for the car to start, and if they don't, it'll cut the fuel pump and injector pulse width. And if you replace either the PCM or the PATS module, they do need to be reprogrammed. The only issue is you need 2 keys to do this. I only have 1, and there's a big blizzard in Chicago right now. None of the dealers can do anything for me at all. But thanks to the internet, I found out that there's a trick. You can leave the key in the ignition for 10 minutes, and sometimes this will work and reset the system. All right, I'll see you in about a minute. All right, we're almost there. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Well, I was hoping for a fuel pump sound, but okay. So, not sure exactly what we're supposed to do here now after this 10 minutes, if this is supposed to work. Let's just try. I'll just take the key out, give it a couple of these, and let's see what happens here. It's still blinking, I don't hear the fuel pump. Darn. All right, you guys aren't gonna believe this, but I found another key. I knew I had more than 1 key for this car, and it was buried in the toolbox. So look, I have this, and this, and this. Let's do this. this. Enter Pat's security access. This process takes 10 minutes. What? All right, 600 seconds. Here we go. So they most likely do this so that if a thief is trying to use this to steal a car, there's about 10 more minutes for the police to get there. Longest 10 minutes ever. All right, we did it. We're gonna treat this situation as if we have brand new keys. So we're gonna program an additional key. All right, so we've placed a key in the ignition and it's resetting right now. Gauges are pegged. Okay, there we go. Test incomplete. Great. Key is already programmed. What in the world? I'm trying this again with the other key. And the cluster reads D1A6, some kind of diagnostic mode. Timeout, testing complete. All right, so both keys are programmed. I'm gonna try a parameter reset now. Okay, so I've erased the module, so now these keys are essentially blank. And now all we have to do is turn it to run for 3 seconds. Nothing, come on. Guys, I've been at this for a few hours. It's very frustrating. So we're gonna take a look at the engine computer now. So, and did some clips. All right, so there she is. And it's possible that the PAT system is actually built into the engine computer on this year. Oh man, we got, mice have definitely, whoa. Mice have been in here, but what in the world is this? Oh, get out of here. Okay, cool. I figured they were using a standalone engine computer. I just didn't know where it was, but oh my gosh. What in the world? Look at this. Water must have got in here and rodents. I don't know what this is. Upload, bunch of exclamation, 8/13/2001. Okay, that explains these guys that are hanging out in the car. They are running an aftermarket ECU. That's why everything was labeled like I showed you guys earlier. So that's fine and dandy, but this thing is, oh man, this is rough. What does it say here? Okay, part number, serial, all that kind of good stuff. Well, okay, all right. This is not good. This is not good. Do they even make these parts anymore? I have no idea. But I'm assuming that they're still using the factory engine computer for a lot of things like that PAT system. All right, guys, I'm gonna poke around in here, see if I can figure anything out. And I should probably wear some gloves. This is gross. I think I found the fuel pump relay. Oh my gosh. This is so horrible. Guys, this is hilarious. Look at this old mummy relay trying to work. See it? Just barely moving. Oh my gosh. Let's get this old crusty guy out. Oh, there we go. Yes. Look at that. This thing is sweet. Got a new relay for it. There we go. Let's see what we got now. It's definitely clicking now. No fuel pump. Okay. Guys, we're not getting this theft light to flash anymore. It comes on solid for a little bit, but that's it. And when we scan the engine's computer, we now have a theft detected vehicle immobilized code. Huh, I'm clearing it all. I wanna see what's inside of this aftermarket computer, and pretty much all the screws are stripped out, so I'm drilling them. It says void if you remove this plate. Yeah, I'm voiding it. Oh man. Oh yeah. Okay, that is bad. I've revived control units that have been underwater, but man, this is not good at all. This thing has got to be fried. I'm sorry, guys. I really thought we were gonna get this thing to, idle and run in this video, but I don't think I'm gonna get anywhere with that aftermarket computer looking the way that it is, and this whole PATS issue is still an issue. But let's try some more starting fluid. Some cars will actually run for a bit on starting fluid. I want to see if we can get this thing to run so we at least know this engine sounds decent. More. There we go. Okay. Yeah! Woo! Oh, all right, I got the fire out with a little sprinkle of water. We had the fire extinguisher ready, but luckily didn't need it, no damage or anything. This isn't the first red Mustang that has caught on fire from me spraying starting fluid into the throttle body. Oh, okay,
stop.
So let's just say this is my yearly warning to you guys to not go crazy with the starting fluid. You can literally catch your entire car on fire. Be prepared to have fire extinguishers, or just don't do it at all. But anyway, while this thing was running off the starting fluid, I was able to verify that we have good oil pressure, and also it was charging too. So everything in the cluster looked good. The engine sounds good, no rod knock or anything like that, but I definitely need some help, guys. Anyone who has Ford experience with this PATS system, if you guys saw anything in this video that gives you an idea of what's possibly wrong with this, please let me know in the comments. And also, have you guys ever seen that aftermarket engine computer before? Does that company even exist? I don't know. I got a ton of research to do, but my plan, the goal, is to get this thing to start on its own fuel system and computer in the next video and potentially drive it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I'm so glad that the Cobra is back together for the most part, and hopefully we'll be back on the road again for the first time in 21 years. So if you did enjoy the video, do me a favor, give it a big thumbs up, share the video with all your friends, especially your Ford friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and most importantly, have a fantastic day. Don't light your car on fire, and I'll see you all in the next video. So an eight rib belt. Maybe we'll do a voiceover for this. Max. I don't know why I'm saying Max. Who else could I be talking to? Voiceover, whoever you are. OJ just finished up the intake air temperature sensor, and OJ finished up the intake. And this is a built engine. All the rod caps are, it's time for the engine. It's time for our engine to meet its new, oh, okay, I'm weak. I've revived. Hey Max, can I use your muscles real quick? For some muscly stuff. So we need to get this onto this. So
you don't want to hurt yourself again?
Yeah.